Hello and welcome to another episode of Mike and Dave's Hi-Fi Riff. I'm Mike Evans.
And I'm David Price.
And in this episode we are going to be talking about the
B&W Formation Duo wireless loudspeakers.
This is a very interesting product. This is BMW's take on what seems to be a very busy market space at the moment, with lots of competitors jostling for position for the best active speakers, as it were, or network speakers, should I say.
Absolutely.
Actually, that's an interesting distinction. We've just got to be careful here, haven't we? Because if we talk about active speakers, people might think it's a completely different type of product altogether.
They are active wireless network speakers, aren't they?
Yes. So what we're really saying is we can stream to them from various sources. You can pair them to your Bluetooth phone if you want to, or Spotify Connect, or whatever that may be, your service of choice. And all you really need are two mains cables. Yeah. No speaker cables, no umbilicals. Yeah. Proper networked speaker.
Yes, and B&W, Bowers and Wilkins say their design brief was to make a high quality pair of hi-fi speakers that just happen to be wireless.
So, and they have, because they've taken an original design, haven't they? Is it the 700s they've come from?
Yep.
That's a base model, isn't it? And then they've sort of built on it by putting all of the gubbins in the back to make them all networked.
Yeah, it's a sort of trickle-down technology from their sort of main domestic passive hi-fi wired speakers. So you can see the carbon dome tweeter is used, and the continuum mid-bass driver is used, and those are seen in the 700 series. But also there's the extra kind of digital gubbins. There's the connectivity package, and the amplification as well, which is each speaker has a 125 watt, has two 125 watt Class D power amplifiers in each speaker. So the end result is effectively a active wireless loudspeaker system that has very deep, real hi-fi credentials, I would say. But obviously gets into that market where people want wireless speakers.
Can I tell you what? I'm really, one of the things I really like about these, and they've really thought about this, and they've obviously looked at their competitors. The way you can plug these in is, obviously they can work wireless, no problem at all, but actually you can just network them in as long as they're within cabling range of your router.
Via an Ethernet.
Via Ethernet, yeah. And you can just plug them in anywhere and they'll work. And we don't need to have like a central box. You can have a pair of speakers which just work via the Wi-Fi or networked. You can network into multi-rooms, so you could, in theory, have them all around the house if you wanted to. Whereas other speakers rely on the sort of central, hub, if you like, the central box which comes with them. Like, say, for example, the Q Acoustics Q200s. Yeah. They don't work without that box. Yeah. Now there is a box, isn't there, for these particular Bowers and Wilkins?
Yeah, that's the Formation Audio.
That's what it's called, isn't it? The Formation Audio.
Absolutely. Yes. At the time, at the moment, that's £650. The speakers themselves are, I think, around 4,000
for a pair.
For a pair, yeah. So your that whole system is knocking on for £5,000, which is not cheap.
No. And here's the question: why would you buy the box? Well, it just gives you some extra connectivity, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So you've got various other inputs.
Yeah.
So I mean, we plugged a CD player in, didn't we?
Just it's got a Toslink digital. It's got RCA line input.
Yes.
As well. So it basically expands it and makes it a much more usable system, I think, with that extra box, that extra breakout box.
Yeah. You don't need it.
No, you don't. No.
And the other clever thing which they do is when they talk to each other, they generate their own mesh Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So they're not reliant on you having plenty of spare headroom on your bandwidth to stream. So if someone's streaming Netflix in the next room, I know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Then it doesn't have any effect on the sound quality because it's their own little Wi-Fi system which they put together.
And it's a very robust system. It's been designed in order to basically for each speaker to talk to one another. At a sufficiently high speed that you don't get kind of lag or anything.
We didn't have any dropouts at all, any lag. It was a pretty seamless. We had a bit of fun connecting, That seems to be par for the course with these network speakers. It seems to be a bit of jiggery-pokery one way or the other to get them up and running.
It's a bit of faffing around. Yeah, we had to kind of redo the sort of start process, didn't we?
A few
times. And
reboot
we ended up
them all.
doing it through my iPhone.
Couldn't get my Android to connect for some reason.
Android app,
who knows? It's all a bit voodoo, that part, isn't it?
It is.
But when it was up and running, it was there,
and it was fine.
It was fine. Interestingly, though, and this is maybe a little bit controversial, and when we're talking about, when I'm saying about connectivity, I'm meaning hi-fi connectivity. So I'm discounting Bluetooth and Spotify Connect and all that.
Yeah.
If I'm trying to stream, say, high-res files,
yeah.
and maybe I'm trying to stream through, say, Cobas or Tidal or whatever, Deezer or whatever my choice is, this is what they say.
Yeah.
See, they say use Roon.
Yeah.
Now, okay, there's two things here. They've got their own app, which is okay. Actually, probably better than most, to be honest, but still only okay because most are pretty rubbish.
Yeah.
But they're saying, controversially, don't use our own app, use Roon.
Yeah.
Now that's all well and good, and I'm a Roon user, and I love Roon, and I think it's a terrific interface. I'm all in with Roon, but it's another £100 a year you've got to find. On top of the £4,000 or £4,600. If you've gone for the full Monty.
And the optional speaker stands, which are $750 as well. So
now, I haven't seen those, but I've seen some pictures of them and they look gorgeous.
Yeah.
And I would imagine, if they're anything like the speakers, then they're going to be really well made, because the speakers are two-man lift pretty much, aren't they?
They're very heavy. Each speaker, I think, is about just over 10 kilograms.
They feel very grown up.
Yeah, and they're quite large as well. So each speaker is, I think it's about 39 centimeters high. So a good bit higher than a vinyl LP record.
Yes, yeah. Do you know? Gosh, I'm got to be careful here. For me, the jury's out with the design. I'm not massively keen on the strange-looking sort of treble unit on the top.
Yeah.
It also feels a bit wobbly. Feels like it's going to fall off.
Yeah, it's actually designed to be like
not
designed to fall off, but designed to be. It's called decoupling.
I know.
So that's professionals But it's BMW's
it just
tweeter
doesn't
on
quite
top.
it doesn't quite sit right for me. And then for me, they're not the greatest looking loudspeakers. And look, this is all personal, isn't it? Other people might think they're the best in the world. I don't know, but not quite for me. But there's no getting away from the fact they're really well built.
They are
solid as.
Extremely well built, in a way that you would expect a real hi-fi speaker to be.
Yes.
Costing several thousand, couple of £1,000 at least.
Yeah, and that's it, isn't it? You've just nailed it. They are real hi-fi speakers.
Yeah.
And I think these are the big boys of these network speakers.
Yeah.
They're ruling the school at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah. So we've heard a lot, haven't we?
We've heard pretty much all of them, I think. Yeah.
And I would say they're the best sounding network wireless actives that we've heard.
Yeah.
That they're you're not aware of them being a wireless speaker system at all.
No.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. No, I agree with you, but I wouldn't say they're still perfect. And in fact, one of the interesting things which we both noticed was they are quite. If you go off axis, then actually you can quite easily lose a bit of the treble response.
Yeah.
They're quite directional. You need to be sitting in a pretty central spot. When we reviewed the Q Acoustics,
Q Active
200s with those lovely BMR drive units, they had a massive disbursement.
Yeah.
So you could sit anywhere and it would sound great. With these, you have to sit any particular place for them to sound great.
There's a kind of a sweet spot.
There is a sweet spot.
And that's counterintuitive for a product such as this. You kind of, I think the Q Acoustics suits the genre better because it just fills the room with relatively non-directional sound and the balance of the sound doesn't change. But we found that standing above the tweeter, a good way above off axis, gave us more treble. I think it was slightly brighter.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
They're actually kind of smoother on axis.
They were smooth on axis. Yeah. And we're not talking a huge movement in the position of your head to notice a difference. Having said that, if these guys in the design room, if their brief was to make the best sounding network speaker, then they've hit the brief.
Yeah.
Because they sound terrific. They do a lot of things really well. I quite like this size of speaker because
Yes.
it's one of those things where, and we've said this before, you kind of wonder where all the sound's coming from. You know, is it really coming from those two little boxes? Because they're heavyweights. They've got plenty of bass, plenty of drive.
Yeah.
They're fast. They're dynamic. Again, I think it's source dependent.
Yeah.
So I think you really want to be using. Well, actually, they sounded great with your CD player.
Yeah,
to be honest.
we played Owner of a Lonely Heart by Yes, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
Otherwise known as Trevor Horn, featuring...
some former members of Yes.
yeah, and not being let anywhere near the recording
right.
studio.
Yeah.
But yeah, the greatest Buggles track that never was. But it's a wonderful dem track because it's got a lot of thumping bass, it's got big dynamics, and it's very crisp and really cuts through. And the B&Ws really carried that well. There was relatively little compression. They were strong. They were clean, even at high levels. They could push out high levels as well, couldn't they? Without any problem.
The vinyl version of that is quite bright. So the CD version can be particularly ear bleeding. But we didn't really see any of that at all. It was very listenable too. It was very good. As you say, really great dynamics, thumping bass, all the things you like. And in fact, we listened to quite a few different things, and we did quite a bit of streaming. We listened to some sort of kind of retro 70s sort of funk stuff. Donny Hathaway and Earl Clue and people like that.
And you had public service broadcasting.
Public service broadcasting.
Fave album.
Which is really good. Really nicely recorded.
The
as well.
German album.
And that's it. Yeah, the just a little nod to Kraftwerk going on there. And so they copes with all of that, and really nice, really sweet sounding,
clean and smooth and punchy.
Yeah, they're definitely the best sounding. Now, may I be a little controversial? I may say, look, they're also quite expensive, and in terms of sheer value for money, maybe not the best value for money on the market. I think for me that would still go to the Q Acoustics, which are less than half the price.
1,500,
and that's for all three boxes.
Yeah.
If you like, compared to 4.6 with this. So so there's quite a big difference there, and they're not twice as good as the Qs. But they're terrific speakers and really impressive. And I would happily live with them.
I think they're way better, for example, than the KEF LS50 wireless 2s.
Night and day.
Yeah, absolutely on another level. So if you are, for your own reasons, and we pray for you in your darkness, you have to have a wireless speaker. You can't, have wires and speaker cables because your other half won't let you, or for some other random reason. Then I can't think of anything better than these at the moment.
They've got
that I've heard. Anyway.
They have an application without a doubt.
They really do.
And if you have a small apartment, and you want to keep it sort of super neat and tidy, not like me with boxes and wires everywhere, then these are nailed on, aren't they? Especially if you like the design. I think it's a bit Marmite. I think you love it or you hate it. And so if you love the design and you want this sort of minimalist hi-fi, then it's perfect, isn't it? And you don't need to buy, if you're into Roon, you don't need to buy the extra box.
No.
So it can literally just work as this nice 2-box package, and you can add to it if you're super wealthy and you want to have 15 of them around the house. We can do that too. So covered a lot of bases. Well thought out product, and
it's a grown-up thing, isn't it? It's a grown-up speaker.
That's it. That's what it is. It's the grown-up network speaker, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. That's the soundbite, isn't it? The grown-up network speaker, and I think you've nailed it there. And yes, I do like them. I do like them very much. I don't think personally I could justify the price tag, but they tick an awful lot of boxes. They really do.
Definitely.
In terms of our overall Mike and Dave Hi-Fi Riff score, where would you put these, the B&Ws?
I think I'm going to give them 8.5, because even though they are probably the best sounding wireless active network speakers that I've heard by quite a way, they are very expensive for what they are, especially if you have the breakout box. And if you think about the Q Acoustics Q Active 200s at 1,500 quid, You know, these are basically $5,000 or there or thereabouts, and you know, there's not really, you know, that much more improvement in sound. There's definitely a noticeable improvement, but it's just a kind of law of diminishing returns, I guess.
Yes.
So
yeah,
I think I'll give them that, because very nice, but you know, getting pricey.
I'm going to actually go for an 8, and my slight negatives here are obviously some of the things you mentioned as well, but the fact that they say you should use Roon, which is going to cost you another £100 a year, and you know, it's their own app's okay, but I wouldn't just want to rely on that, so I would have to buy Roon. Also the fact that I'd probably buy the stands, and that's going to be another 650, did we say, or did you say 750? I can't remember. 750. Yeah. So by the time you've got the £4,000 worth of speakers, £600 worth of the additional box, and £750 worth of speakers, you know, we're into big money territory, aren't we?
Yeah, we're into mint Triumph TR7 drop heads territory, aren't we? So.
Yeah. So in that case, it's a 10. Buy the BMWs. For heaven's sake, don't buy the TR7 drop head. And anyway, look, on that note, we got an 8.5 and an 8 on the Hi-Fi Riff.
Yeah.
We do like them very much. They are great, if a little pricey. But have a listen to them and you will be as impressed as we were with the sound. So thanks very much for watching this episode of Mike and Dave's Hi-Fi Riff, and we'll look forward to seeing you in another one. Thanks very much indeed. Thank you.
Take it away,